Hi, I'm Holly and my project is Dance Dance Arduino. In the first video I made, I talked about my project and showed how I made my prototype dance pad. In that video, I introduced my project. If you haven't seen it, watch it up here. In this video, I will show you how I made my final dance pad. With the knowledge I gained from building the prototype, I made the final version much more durable and with a better design. I hope you enjoy watching the process I went through to create the final dance pad, and I hope you learned something new along the way.
Firstly, I cut a piece of MDF wood 900mm by 900mm. This would make the baseboard. Next, I cut 4 pieces of pine wood 900cm long. These were cut at a 45-degree angle so they'd fit nicely in the corners. Then they were glued onto the baseboard. After that, I measured the inside of the baseboard to figure out how big the pads were going to be, which was 286.7 by 286.7 millimeters. Next, I measured and cut wood in the right shape for the pads. There were going to be 5 stationary pads and 4 thinner moving pads. Then I marked the inside of the baseboard as a guide. Then an Ethernet cable with 8 wires in was stripped halfway to show the 8 wires. Then it was put through a hole that was drilled in the side of the dance pad. The wires were glued in place where they needed to be with epoxy adhesive. To make room for the wires, the edges of the stationary panels were filed down. Using a drill press, 2 holes were drilled in the top of 2 of the stationary panels to make room for the wires that would go to the escape and enter buttons. The stationary panels were glued down and weights were put on top to make sure they didn't move when they were drying. However, there were still gaps between the edges and the stationary panels once they had been glued down. These gaps were filled using wood putty, and then they were sanded down to make them as smooth as the rest of the board. To prepare for spray painting the dance pad, pieces of paper were taped inside where the moving panels would go to prevent them from getting painted. Small bits of heat shrink wrap were put over the wires. The dance pad was spray painted purple, and the moving panels were painted blue. Next, 4 arrows were printed out and laminated, then glued down with spray glue. Clear enamel spray paint was sprayed over the moving pads as well as the dance pad. Now that the spray painting had finished, the paper could be taken off. An outline was drawn to show where the copper tape would be placed on the dance pad. The wires were soldered down, each connecting to their own part of the copper tape pattern. Foam was stuck down so that when the dance pad button was pressed, it would be able to spring back up again. The buttons for the escape and enter key were made in a similar way, but with less copper tape. Squares of foam were cut to go underneath the moving panels. Strips of copper tape were put onto the foam to make the connection. Guidelines were drawn on the back of the moving panels to easily see where the foam squares should go. Then the foam squares were glued onto the underside of the moving panels.
was very happy with how the final dance pad turned out. I liked the design and how smooth it looked. If I had had more time, I would have let the clear enamel spray paint harden, as it can be very easily marked. While making the dance pad, I learned a whole lot about circuit building, using hardware like soldering and drilling, and the process in making a product. And I hope you learned something too. Thank you for watching.